Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt, and I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. Hey, to all my YouTubers out there, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, just click that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. Just click it, click it, click it. I loves to click it. Hey, let me tell you something. Today's Wyatt is enlightening. It's instructive. It's entertaining, actually uber entertaining, because it's all about ADODI, y'all. ADODI is one of the longest standing spiritual brotherhood organizations for men of African descent. So let's just get it on. Yo, so without further ado, Wyatt welcomes the gentleman of ADODI, Dr. Kahan Sablo. And what's that other guy's name? Oh yeah, Shelton Watson. Talk at me. How the hell are you?
Hey, Wyatt, how you doing, man?
I am doing great. I'm so glad to have you here on Wyatt. So, first of all, we're going to have a very informative, instructive, and entertaining conversation, and I'm just going to jump right in. Now, established in 1986 in Philadelphia, ADODI is one of the longest standing spiritual brotherhood organizations for men of African descent. So I want to first discuss precisely why ADODI was formed, its purpose, its mission. And Kahan, I'm going to start with you because you are the National Facilitator, the CEO of ADODI-National.
I am happy to be here, and I'm absolutely honored to talk about the brotherhood that I love so much. To all my brothers, I just thank you for the years of support that you've given me in this role. So as you said, ADODI was founded in 1986. As we understand racism in this world, as the AIDS epidemic was ravaging throughout the community, our founders understood that they were not being treated equitably. They were not being cared for the same as white individuals who were being impacted by this disease. So they decided to come together and form a community of support so that they could love each other, so that they could care for each other during this volatile time, particularly during the unfolding of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. So we were founded to be a community of support. We were founded to be a brotherhood. We were founded to be a place where we could go to for love. Love not in a sexual way, but love in a fraternal, a brotherly way. And we have since 1986 been moving strong. Several hundred members. We've got chapters all over the country. We are proud of our status as being one of the longest serving organizations because that's just how powerful and that's just how special ADODI is. So for all the same gender loving men, we choose the term same gender loving over gay. So for same gender loving men of the African diaspora, ADODI has a home for you if you're interested in joining and uniting with us.
Dr. Kahan, you are an excellent ambassador. So, Shelton, let's see what you can do. Now, you are one of the founding members of ADODI Chicago, which was formed in 1996, and you've also participated in the board of ADODI-National. So please chime in.
Yeah, my first experience with ADODI was attending a retreat in 1994. A friend of mine who had attended the retreat in 1991 came back to Chicago and, told our brotherhood here in Chicago that there was this group out of New York that was having these weekend retreats, and they were just phenomenal. They were very empowering. They were uplifting. And I decided to attend my first retreat in 1994 in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And 5 of us from Chicago drove from Chicago to Pottstown, Pennsylvania for our first ADODI retreat. And it was a phenomenal experience. There were 5 of us who drove up, And when we got there, we were met with about 65 other brothers from across the country.
Wow.
Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't know. And it was a weekend of just, affirmations, empowerment. We left there as brothers. When we arrived there as strangers, and I was hooked. Man, ever since that first retreat in 1994, I've been actively involved with ADODI.
Wonderful. Kahan, how did you make it to ADODI? What's your story?
Wonderful. I was down in Atlanta for Atlanta Black Pride, down there doing what people do when they go to Black Prides, and walked into an informational fair, and there was a brother who was there handing out candy, trying to talk about the organization. And I won't embarrass you nationally, Courtney, but he was just upset that all of the lesbian women were just coming in there stealing up his candy because lesbians don't join ADODI. So he was just angry that the lesbians were just taking all of his candy. So I had seen him after that, and I was like, nice looking brother. Why is he looking so grumpy? So he began to tell me about this group called ADODI. And he was inviting me to come to a retreat, promising me that it would be a life-changing event when I got there. I was a little hesitant because I'm like, a bunch of gay men on top of some mountain. I don't know. I'm a church boy. This just don't sound right at first to me. So it was my initial impression there. So I went there. I rented a car just because if something jump off on this mountain, I'm leaving. I'm just keeping my purse and my keys with me. And if something don't go, I'm out. So I went there. By day 2, I left the keys in the bag in the car. I was at home. I felt empowered in ways that I had never felt before. I struggled with the intersection of ethnicity, of spirituality, of sexuality as a Black gay Christian man. I had some conflicts going on about that. By the time I came down off of that mountain in Dahlonega, Georgia, I was a whole different person. I was still working to internalize homophobia. Now I'm the national leader of the organization. That is the power of ADODI. That is the power and strength of ADODI love, to affirm who you are as a Black, sane, gender-loving man. And I'm proud to have had that experience, and I'm proud to call these men brothers.
Well, I can say 3 things. First of all, hallelujahs. Got to get that in. Number two, keeping your candy for important people is very, very important. And number 3, Brokeback Mountain.
I don't give my candy away to everybody, just so we know. I don't give my candy to everybody.
You can't, man. You can't. But anyway,
I'm real
look,
selective about who gets my candy.
I would think so less of you if you weren't selective. But anyway, we're going to delve into ADODI even deeper later. But right now, what I want to do is take you guys through the corridors of time so that our audience can learn all about your backstory, because knowing that gives us an idea of what type of guys you are today. So first of all, Kahan, where were you born and raised?
Sure. I was born in the Bronx, New York, so I am a New Yorker by birth. New York City will always be home where I came from, but I've had the privilege of living in several states, Pennsylvania, Virginia, now Illinois, but New York always has that special place in my heart because that's where I came from, born in the Bronx, went to Mount Vernon schools in New York, educated in central New York. Doctoral degree was in Pennsylvania, so I've been around a few places.
Okay, Mr. Watson, what about you? I'm a native Chicagoan, born and raised. Haven't left Chicago to live or be educated anywhere here. I went to high school here, went to college here, and have spent all my life working here. I have traveled, around the country and around the world, but Chicago has always been the place that I'm going to call home.
Got it. Now, I love to ask this question because it makes me laugh. So here it is, gentlemen. When you were a boy, a little nipper, give us...
I've never been little.
Oh, that's true. Well, let's put it like this.
I've never stopped nipping.
When you were a boy, give us 3 qualities or characteristics that best described you. And okay, Shelton, we'll go with you first.
Inquisitive, well-mannered,
Okay,
and responsible.
very nice. Okay, Kahan, what about you?
I would say creative.
Okay.
I would say and loving. Love to hug people, love to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also say
That's nice.
Mischievous. It was something to get in. I would find it and get in it.
Yeah, I can tell that even now. Yeah, I get you. I get you. Okay, good. Okay. Let's fast forward to adulthood. Let's talk about your higher education. Let's talk about your career. Let's talk about your battle to gain acceptance and equality and visibility, for Black, same gender loving men. So whoever wants to start can start.
I'm happy to go.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I struggled with my sexual identity until I was in high school. I went to a all Black, all male Catholic high school here in Chicago, and at the time, though I was sexually active, I didn't have what I called a identity. I was doing what felt good, and what was immediately available to me was kicking it with guys, the guys that I were around every day. But when I started to understand that this was more than just doing what felt good, that this was kind of who I was as a person, I struggled with accepting that because, of course, growing up with a in a middle class Black family, the only thing that you heard about people who were gay or same gender loving were negative things. And of course, going to a Southern Baptist Black church, being gay was always talked about as being a sin, an abomination. You were going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to work up the nerve to come out to somebody who I truly respected, who was an adult, who was involved in the church, and admit to them that I thought that I was gay, and to resolve this issue within myself and see how they would, respond to that. And it just so happened that the person I came out to was also gay. Oh. And it really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that you can accept yourself for your sexual orientation and for your calling, because this person's calling was to be of service through working in the church, but also accept themselves for being gay.
Right.
So from that point on, even though I knew it wasn't socially acceptable to go around telling people, I was gay, I began to accept myself more. And as I, got older and sought out a community of, Black gay people, because this was, between 1982 and 1987, let's say. We were still gay back then. Same gender loving, didn't make its way into the communal lexicon until some years later. I found an organization called Book Forum, which was a media group of Black gay men here in Chicago. And they would get together once a month and read a book, and they would discuss it in the context of how it affected us as Black gay men. And it was a wonderful group of brothers who we were still dealing with the ravages of HIV and AIDS in the city. And many of the brothers who were in the group were either directly infected through HIV or affected because they were, maybe the caregivers for a partner who were HIV positive. And that virus kind of wiped out that group. When I started with the group, they were probably 18 or 20 brothers who were part of the group. And within the first 3 years, I remember losing, maybe 8 people in that group.
Wow. That was
and tough. It was devastating. And having, received my own diagnosis not long after that, it really hit home. I've been HIV positive for 30 plus years.
Oh.
And, at the time, we were told that it would be something that, you have a life expectancy of, 6 years maybe.
Right.
But, thanks be to God, here I am 30 years later, and I'm still here.
Yes, sir.
That man, that is powerful, Shelton. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, a quick sidebar, man. A quick sidebar. You have one hell of a radio voice and listen, an announcer voice, because see, I do look, because look, I do voiceovers myself, and I'm a voiceover instructor, and you'd be, man, you are like, damn.
We'll talk offline about that, because this is not the first time I've heard that. So we'll talk offline.
Definitely. Look, listen, bedroom voice.
I was thinking the same thing. People going to be mailing their drawers into your show after they hear Shelton talking.
Yes. Yeah, look, those sweater drawers.
Yeah. Who is that man? Give this to that man with the deep voice.
Okay.
There's a market for that. Believe it or not.
There is. We're going to talk about all of this later. But anyway, Kahan, what's your story?
Sure. Well, I think as many of us have realized, when there's that kind of period where you realize something's different, and then there's that exploration, that journey through that process. Right around junior high, I started to go, ooh, something's going on here. My friends are having girlfriends, and I'm not really interested in that. Or I would have a girlfriend, and they would try to get real close, and I'd be running away. So I'm like, this is not working out. They kept trying to get me alone in the basement. I'm like, no, I got to go. So sign that this is just not working out the way it is for other people. At some point in high school, I started to come to the reality that, well, this is me. And I think, as my brother Shelton said, having strict discipline and doctrinal directives from scriptures and from church. I was at a white Presbyterian church at the time. And all they were doing was, I'm coming to the pastor for some help and some guidance. All the thing I'm telling is, I'm going to burn in hell. And by the way, AIDS is God's wrath on homosexuality. And that's what you're going to get if you don't stop this sinful behavior. I was not out to family, and I was given signs that coming out to them was not going to be a positive experience. So I did not do that either. So I didn't have any place to go with that. Right. So like many teenagers, I had contemplated taking my own life. I just couldn't handle this anymore. And we know that LGBT teenage suicide, sexual orientation is a key factor in that. So I was one of those. Worked through that. Eventually went away to college. I wanted to be able to explore that. I mean, it was definitely confirmed that I was gay in high school. A high school friend of mine, we started wrestling around in the room one day, and next you know, he's spitting in the toilet, and I'm kind of wondering what happened. So there was this confirmation, like, oh, what was that about?
Naughty.
At that point, the deal was sealed. This is who I am, as I gave him a towel to wipe his mouth off. Anyway, so then I moved forward, went to college, and at college was able to have the freedom to explore, to ask more questions, went to counseling, did all of those things you should do, but then I was at the point of, I know I'm gay and this is a horrible thing. Because God and Bible, at least that's what they were telling me, was saying that this is a horrible thing. I'm a musician also on the side. I'd love to direct gospel choirs. The woman that directed the college gospel choir, she played for the college gospel choir. I directed the college gospel choir. She was the first lady of a church. Her husband was a pastor. Fast forward, they adopted me as their as one of their children. I call him dad now. She passed away from cancer. I stepped in and took over the music ministry at the church. Upon her demise, I began to understand that you can be Christian and gay and still love yourself, and it all can work. So that was a turning point in my life where I didn't feel a need to internally, like, this is just not going to work for me. And then, of course, I had experiences with ADODI that even further affirmed me. While I was in college, I was trying to stay in the closet, but it didn't work. Unfortunately, I had a horrible incident, actually, two horrible incidents, where two separate groups of people that did not know about each other were calling my room and saying things that I won't say here on the phone or the front desk phone relative to race, the N word, and sexual orientation. There were about 300 phone calls that I endured and worked with the police to tap the phone. Lots of people were kicked out of school and suspended for that act. One of them appealed its way through the local court system and ultimately appealed its way to the New York State Supreme Court. So here's this out person now having a case at the Supreme Court regarding sexuality and racism that I was inflicted of. So once your business goes to the Supreme Court, I guess there really is no in the closet anymore at that point. And having not been out, I was needing to navigate that without support. So that's when I met the person who was playing for the choir at that college, and she just loved me as though I was one of her own. And I got adopted by that, and with that came a different realm of self-love, that I was able to do this. I was playing piano for mainstream churches, and then that started to feel funny. You know, I can play for everybody else's wedding, but if I find the person that I want to marry, the AME church is not going to let me have my wedding here. My pastor can't do this. I started to deal with sexuality from that sort of a more social justice lens, that I can't contribute to support to this ministry that isn't going to support me, even though the local churches and local people in the congregation love me. At the national and international level, you can't accept who I am. Therefore, I can't give you my talents to help you put money in your collection plate anymore. So I then united with Black same-gender loving denominations, and ultimately even accepted the call to ministry. So now I'm happy to say that I'm a licensed minister. We'll go through the pathway through ordination as God deems that for me. But happy to say that I stopped running from that call and realize that God can love me. God was created for everybody, including me and my gay butt. And I can be loved just and whole and affirmed. And frankly, I would attribute that aspect of it to ADODI. Being able to come to the fullness of myself from a young man who thought about ending his life to now a minister who's affirmed in who he is, and just loving to provide support and leadership to brothers all over the world through ADODI.
That is awesome. Let me ask you about both of you about your career paths. Shelton, you start. What is your career path, your profession?
Currently, I'm a network administrator for a law firm in downtown Chicago. I've worked in computers since I graduated high school. I left high school, and even before I started college, I started my first job as a computer technician with an investment banking firm by the name of John Naveen and Company. And I worked there for 16 years, moved on to another firm where I was managing a group of technicians who were servicing other law firms in Chicago. And from there, I went to where I'm currently employed at, which is Mutt Shellist PC. So I've always worked in computers, but my avocation has always been social justice issues. Started working in the community doing human rights issues in 1993, where I joined a group of individuals who were seeking to increase the visibility of Black, gay, and lesbian people here in the city of Chicago.
Okay.
And we formed what's called the Ad Hoc Committee of Proud Black Lesbians and Gays, and challenged the Chicago Defender Charities to march in the Bud Billiken Parade as an openly gay group. And we won that fight. And from there, I was appointed by the mayor of the city of Chicago, Richard Daley, to the Commission on Human Relations for the city of Chicago. And I joined the Advisory Council on Gay and Lesbian Issues for the city of Chicago in 1993, and served there until 2001, and chaired the Advisory Council for about 5 years prior to leaving in 2001.
Dang, I want to be like you when I grow up. Okay, Dr. Sablo, what has been your career path? I think it's been higher education, correct?
Yep, that is where I landed. I actually went off to college. I wanted to be a New York City police officer initially and clean up the Bronx.
Wow.
Everybody, since I was a small
Okay.
child, I said I wanted to be a cop. And fast forward, that's not the case. When I went to college, I had an opportunity to go to graduate. So I went to college for a criminal justice degree and actually got that degree. But while I was there, I became involved in various aspects of student support services at the institution. That incident that I shared with you, it was my hall director and folks at the counseling center that were providing support for me during that really tragic incident. So I began to get more interested in that. So I began a career in worked as a hall residence hall director, then became more attentive to the needs of my people, particularly in the field of diversity and inclusion. So I launched a career in higher
Cool.
education, either in direct student services or in DEI work. So founding director of 3 different multicultural centers at 3 different institutions, was served as the dean of students and vice president for student affairs. And now I'm back into the diversity leg of that. I'm the vice president for diversity, equity, and inclusion at a graduate institution here in Chicago. So, senior level higher education administration is kind of where I have landed for my vacation. My education was in counseling. I'm actually in a graduate program now, but I will, as I get older and more seasoned, at some point, I want to open my own therapy practice so that I can spend the last of my working years working for myself as a therapist, specifically focusing on the needs of the Black community and the LGBTQ plus community. So that's what the trajectory looks like. But I'm very proud of my career in higher education. Like Shelton, I too was very active in community things for about 30 years of experience as an EMT or paramedic, where I was a volunteer in those realms. So
Wow, man.
running into car accidents and going into the hospital, doing all sorts of medical things like that. Ran for public office, was twice elected for the local school board. My church activities, I've always been the minister of music at church, and now I am preaching. I've always had a love for college gospel choirs, so that was my doctoral dissertation was on college gospel choirs. And for fun, I also like to play volleyball, so and exercise. So those are some things that have kept me busy
Lord,
in between working.
Lord, have mercy. You know, regarding both of you, I want to be just like you when I grow up. This is, I mean, in all seriousness, you guys are very, very accomplished. Now, don't break your hands patting yourself on the back. Anyway, let's swing into ADODI. Let's do a really deep dive. Here's my question. Why should someone join your organization? I mean, what emotional, spiritual, mental benefits can one derive from being a part of the Brotherhood?
Shelton, you've
I'll
been in
start.
longer, so
Okay.
have you start?
It's very interesting. When I first joined ADODI, I thought ADODI was uh, the pinnacle of being in a loving community for Black gay men, and that every Black gay man should be part of the Brotherhood of ADODI. I mean, I've even gone so far as to get people who were hesitant to come to retreats because there's a financial obligation to that.
Sure.
Now it's a 5-day retreat. When it started in 1987, it was a 3-day retreat, and now it's 5 days, and it can be kind of cost prohibitive for some people. I've scholarshiped people to come to the retreat because I thought they would enjoy it that much and get that much out of it. Only to find that not everybody received as much from the retreat as I did.
Okay.
ADODI is a place for people who are looking to connect with people on a much deeper level. If when you meet somebody, the third question that you ask is, "Are you top or bottom?"
Yeah.
ADODI's not for you.
Right.
It's not about that. ADODI's the type of place for people who are seeking to find a community of supportive, loving, empowering, positive-minded individuals who have, gone through some things in their life and are looking for, people who can provide them with some, unconditional love and support, and who are looking to be able to give unconditional love and support themselves. Not everybody's there yet. But one of the things I tell, my brothers who are in leadership at ADODI is that it's our responsibility to make sure this, organization lasts and thrives, so that when those people ultimately are ready to come to some place like ADODI, that it still exists for them. Because everybody's going to need that point in their life when they are looking for something, more than just friends that they can, go to the club with, friends that, are going to turn into friends with benefits. And ADODI is that place where you're going to find people who have, a very diverse set of backgrounds. I tell people that, ADODI is full of people who have, GEDs, MDs, PhDs, ADCs. You will find every, corner of our community represented within ADODI. You mentioned when you first introduced the organization that it was a spiritual organization. And I would say that it's only spiritual in the sense that we believe that they are something greater than ourselves that, we all have to lean on in order to make it through this life. Some of us don't know what that is, but we believe that there is something out there greater than ourselves that we have to lean on in order to, not lose our mind up in here, up in here. There are people who are, Christian who go to ADODI, people who are Muslim who go to ADODI, people who are Buddhist who go to ADODI, people who are atheists who go to ADODI, people who are agnostic who go to ADODI. And ADODI doesn't push any one spiritual path. It embraces everyone where they are. And if you're looking for some place who's going to accept you for, who you are and how you are, and is going to be a resource that you can use to, guide you along the path, ADODI is an organization that, you might want to seek out and become involved with.
Wow. Okay. Powerful. Kahan, do you want to chime in on that?
I would echo Shelton's thoughts. I looked at ADODI as a place where I came to and was allowed to experience the wholeness and the fullness of me. Prior to ADODI, I was fragmented. I was Black, or I was Christian, or I was same-gender loving. I couldn't be all of those at one time because in my mind, those identities were conflicting with each other. The Black community, we have been homophobic. We're working, we're getting better. But my experience at the time was the Black community was not going to be accepting of my sexuality. The church was not going to be accepting of my sexuality. ADODI was a place where I was able to come and be authentically me and stand in all of these beautiful identities that I have. So I would say if you're looking for a place to be affirmed just who you are, in the way you are, unapologetically, then we would be a place that you want to stop by and check us out. As Sheldon says, we scan all religious beliefs, and we scan various ages. We've had members up in their 80s and 90s, all the way up to that age, up and young adults as well. It is a place where you can come and we will open and welcome you just for you. And we want to do this in a way that's different from then how the rest of the world has treated us. We want a non-sexual space. If you're coming here to get your freak on, that's not what we're here to do. There's bars and things you can do. And I'm not saying that ADODI men don't enjoy intimacy and things like that, but that's not why we've assembled. We don't want you to do that. We don't want that to be part of what it is you're coming here to see. We want to love you beyond what's inside your pants, because the world sexualizes Black men in such a way that we need a break from that. We want to show you that there's more to you than whether you're top, bottom, or versatile, or how big your schlong is, or any other things like that. We want you to know that we think more of you than just that. It's a substance-free environment. We want you in your right mind so that we know who we're loving on, so that we know what you're thinking, so that you can be vulnerable to us on our workshops, so that you can explore the baggage and the walls you've had to put up to make it through just to exist. We want those walls to come down. And we want you to do it in your right mind. So no substances, no alcohol, no drugs. This is a space where if you are looking for a place to affirm and love yourself at an even greater level, then I would suggest you stop by and try ADODI out.
Wow, powerful, guys. Thank you for that vivid and nuanced portrait of ADODI. So how many chapters are there currently and locations? And I believe that you just established a new chapter in Dallas in October of this year.
Absolutely. Yes, we did just welcome Dallas on, and we are also looking at ways to how do we grow. As Shelton and others would know, my mantra during my time of leadership here has been tell somebody about ADODI. I don't want ADODI to be the best kept secret in the country or in the world. I want everybody to know, if you are a Black, same gender loving member of the diaspora, we want you. And we do have chapters here in Chicago where Shelton and I are. We have one. Yeah, I love to tell people we've got a chapter in the Windy City. We've got a chapter in Chocolate City. We've got a chapter in the Motor City. We've got a chapter in the city that never sleeps. We got a chapter in the city of brotherly love. We have a chapter in the southern region of the United States. And now we got a chapter in the Big D, and that's Dallas, not anything else you might be thinking about.
Lord, all I can say is good golly, Ms. Marley, I'm telling you, my brother, preach, baby, preach. I love it. I love it. Okay, Kahan, in 2018, you became the National Facilitator. Tell us a little bit about your role and how does it make you feel?
It is an awesome,
what do you do?
It's an awesome responsibility. And at times I say, am I even worthy of this? When I think of what this organization has done for me, there was a period of transition in the organization where, which is healthy. I believe all organizations should have transition, some new thoughts and new ideas. And I'm getting very close to that time where I'm going to say to my brothers, I think we're at that point where somebody else should be thinking about that. But for me, it was at a time when they were needing a leader. I had just come onto the board just a few months ago, and an opportunity presented itself where they were going to need a national facilitator. My initial thought was no, not because I didn't love the organization, just because of other things that were going on in my life at the time. I had just been diagnosed with prostate cancer, so this was unfolding other challenges in life, and now this was presenting itself. But rather, I can't tell ADODI no. It's just one of those things that happened. So I said yes, while navigating all of that, because this organization is just that special to me. So the role of it is kind of twofold. It's one, the development and the care of our brothers. What does that, as far as we have senior brothers, we have younger brothers, and the business operations. There is an annual retreat where people are expecting that to be an event that really changes lives. And there are business aspects of the organization that need to happen. There's the board, there's committees, there's fundraising, there's making sure that the I's are dotted, the T's are crosses, and getting taxes filed and all of those things. But basically, you serve as the oversight of the organization. It's CEO sounds like such a business word when we've got such a warm spirit about us, even though you have to do all those CEO things. So it's making sure the business of the organization gets done while still being central to why we were founded, which was to care for our Black brothers.
Okay, Shelton, let's talk about your role. And also, too, you're the co-chairperson of the 2023 National Retreat Planning Committee. And the retreat is going to be held in Chicago, July 25th through the 30th of next year. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Kahan has tapped myself and Ernest Duncan out of Atlanta, Georgia, to be responsible for planning the retreat for 2023. I'm honored that he's asked me. As Kahan said, it's good for there to be new blood that steps up and takes leadership and ownership. And I've done it so many times being co-chair that I was reluctant to do it this year. But my brother Ernest, who's been involved in the ADODI for a number of years, this is his first year chairing a retreat planning committee. So I felt it was a good opportunity for me to partner with him and pass along some of the knowledge that I've gained, being involved in planning the retreats, so that he can use that experience and that knowledge, and then he can pass it on to someone else as well. But we're really excited. We're going to be returning to Chicago in 2023, July 25th through 30th, and we're going to be having the retreat here. We had a great time in retreat, last year at Loyola. It's the Loyola Ecology and Retreat Center. And Kahan, help me with the name of the city that it's in.
It's
Woodstock, Illinois. I know what it is. Woodstock.
I'll say Woods.
We try to have these retreats far away from major cities,
right?
So that people aren't tempted to try to sneak out at night and go back and go to a bar or go to a club, because we want people to experience being in retreat with one another for the full 5 days. And there's no lack of activities for us to do some of these retreat sites. In some of the sites, we have more amenities than others. In Loyola, there's no pool, but typically we try to find a place that has a pool so that we can have pool parties. But at Loyola, we have rooms set up where we can watch movies in the evenings, typically movies around Black same-gender loving lives. And then we have a whole night of having card parties and game parties, and those are wild. We we play spades, we play bid, we play Uno, we play all kind of games, and the brothers are in there till all hours of the morning, listening to music, playing cards, and just having a good time with one another, fellowshipping with one another, talking crap, and it's a lovely fellowship, and we're looking forward to all of that, as well as the programming that we're going to put together for the retreat, which Ernest and I are going to be having some brothers doing workshops. We always have workshops every year that are kind of focused around the theme of the retreat. We're early in the planning process for the retreat this year, so we haven't come up with a theme yet. But we always have a wealth of workshops that deal with everything from financial planning to sexual health. We've even had workshops on the leather community and retreats. We've had massage therapists come in and do workshops. We have workshops on relationships and how to navigate relationships and dating, financial planning. So we're really looking forward to what we can put together for the brothers for 2023.
Well, that sounds amazing. And I'm glad Shelton, I'm glad you mentioned workshops, because unfortunately within our community, we suffer from chronic depression and HIV disproportionately. And I've written about this and reported on it extensively for WyattEvans.com, my online home, Huffington Post, and other media outlets. So what specifically is ADODI doing, like strategy, workshops, programs that help address, chronic depression and HIV?
You want to answer, Kahan?
Sure. I would say probably more nationally, those are they're concerns of us as a people of color, but particularly within the LGBTQ plus space. You will find workshops that speak to those very, very, very issues. So when you come to the retreat, there's typically things that focus on mental health. Throughout the course of the year, we have a national programming committee that is also offering educational opportunities to speak about those very issues. So just want to make sure we understand that it's not just the retreat, but throughout the course of the year, we're offering educational sessions on that. We're now starting to venture out into the world of grant writing and fundraising and things like that. So I anticipate that more will be coming. But I think the biggest uh, thing that I would say that I'm happy is that ADODI's not afraid to talk about those issues. When you think about depression, that's a hush hush thing that people often don't want to talk about. We don't have that problem. We're able to talk about things. I remember one year, in fact, it's a brother that just passed away. Brother had a workshop on erectile dysfunction. A room full of men talking about erectile dysfunction, that's a sensitive topic. So when you think about depression, when you think about sexual health, when you think about those things that are just so that some people get a little uncomfortable talking about it, that's not us. We will charge right in and have a full conversation, because what I know I can share, and someone can share what they know with me, and we can find support in community. Those are real issues for us. Many of our brothers are HIV positive. The organization itself was started in the aftermath and the maltreatment of those who were navigating HIV in the beginning of the virus. They are loved, they are affirmed, they talk, there's community with us. So we don't back away from those issues. In fact, we embrace them as we embrace each other. And one thing I would just add to Shelton's conversations about the retreat, in addition to the workshops, in addition to us celebrating our lineage from Africa, tribute to our ancestors, that we adorn royal cloth and do those celebrations to our ancestors. What I love about our retreat is every day of the retreat, we start with an affirmation. It's either an hour or an hour and a half. A brother will offer an affirmation. We begin the day talking, affirming us, because many of us aren't going to get that when they're not at the retreat. So we start out affirm, and in your depression and in your other things that you're struggling about, we still affirm you every day in all of the things that you're enjoying in life. And yes, even in those places where you're struggling. And that's one of the things that I do love about that we don't back away from difficult issues, and that we start every day affirming you as a Black same-gender loving man.
I'm really glad to hear that. Another difficult issue is intimate partner violence and abuse, and that's one of my top causes. And, it's prevalent in our community. It's like that, is in the closet, the elephant in the room, swept under the rug. So I'm really glad the organization is tackling those really important and critical issues. How has ADODI's point of view and mission evolved over the decades? And Shelton, I'll let you start.
Sure. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because we are in the process of now, reviewing our current mission statement, creating a vision statement, and doing long-range planning for the organization. One of the things that I've noticed as we are planning events and looking at how we're trying to do outreach to a community that is post-pandemic, I guess what I'm looking at for is how to describe the way that we have come to a society that has become a little bit more accepting of diverse sexual identities, gender identities, etc. How do we in the Black SGL community continue to define ourselves, and how does ADODI remain relevant to those groups of people who are defining themselves differently now? It's not strictly about being SGL, gay, queer, LGBTQIA plus, but how do we make sure that the people who need to be taking advantage of what ADODI has to offer are made to feel like they are welcome to come to ADODI, and that they will be accepted for who they are and how they identify themselves? Those are the conversations that we're currently having. ADODI has always sought to bring in, people who have different points of view, who have a larger world view, even to the point that we have people who have attended and been involved with the organization from other countries. We have people who have attended retreats and have been involved in the organization from the UK, from Africa, from the Caribbean, etc. So how does ADODI, not only look to provide support to people here in the U.S., but what can we do to provide support for people, throughout the diaspora? We say that it's for people who are in, diaspora, African people who are in diaspora, but, what are we really doing to support that community? Mm-hmm. So those are conversations that we're currently having. And by bringing in a diverse group of people to start looking at that agenda and making those plans to do that work, ADODI is looking forward.
Oh, okay. Great. Kahan, would you like to add something?
Sure. And at our meeting on Monday, we actually did approve our new mission statement. So by the time this airs, okay, Brotherhood will know it. So we'll know what that is. So we have approved the new mission statement. ADODI-National is an intergenerational brotherhood that fosters and supports emotional, physical, social, and spiritual well-being for Black, same gender-loving men. So when you talk about how things have morphed, if you recall back in the late 80s, we really were focused on providing care and support, particularly for our brothers who were HIV positive during that period where it was still such a new issue and folks didn't know what to do. But even though folks didn't know what to do, they weren't treating the Black people fairly and equitably. So we knew that. So now we understand, as Brother Shelton has so eloquently stated, people were living with HIV for 30 and 40 years. It's not, in the 80s, it was considered a death sentence. Well, now we know that that's not the case. Right. Now we know that things have advanced. Now we know that people can not only live, but thrive and do phenomenal things, as our brother Shelton has just demonstrated for us. We have a need to pivot, that we remain true, we remain committed, and we remain in full love and support of our HIV positive brothers. But we're exploring what else does ADODI formally need to tackle and address? What else? How do we expand? Right now, part of my administration, we're focused on younger brothers. We're also now paying closer attention to our senior brothers. So what else? What other populations? When we started with more of a focused view on what we're here to address now as an organization, particularly through the mission statement that's been approved, we are saying clearly we want a wider lens. So non-HIV positive brothers have been in the organization since its inception, but we want to be welcoming. We want to be inclusive of everyone. And that's the fun and the joy of this moment, that we get to decide, we get to pick, we get to formulate that. And it's an exciting time for the organization.
Wonderful. Here is my last cue, my last question. And Shelton, I'll let you answer this one. I'll let you be the first to answer. What is the major takeaway or message that you want to share with the audience about ADODI?
That ADODI is a welcoming brotherhood of diverse, same gender-loving Black men who are ready to welcome you whenever you are ready to be a part of this brotherhood. ADODI is something that I believe everyone at some point in their life, young or old, needs to be inexperienced, and that they should seek out someone who is within the organization, regardless of where you are. As Kahan has mentioned, we have chapters in Dallas and Chicago, in DC, in Detroit, in Philadelphia, in New York, and in the Southern region. So no matter where you live in the city, in the country, there's probably somebody that who's involved with ADODI.
Right.
I was joking with somebody who I'm in a Facebook group with, how incestuous the Black gay community is, because I can pick any person on Facebook, look at their profile, and see how many mutual friends we have. And even though I don't, personally know that person, we may have 15, 20, 30 people that we have in common as friends. And it's no longer 6 degrees of separation. It's more like 1 degree of separation. That you can get involved with, finding out more about ADODI, no matter where you are. And it's an organization that is seeking to support you for who you are, help you grow to be who you want to be, and love you for who you are right now.
Well put. Kahan?
I would say that we're waiting for you. If you are a member of the Black, same gender loving community, male identified, we're waiting for you. If you have been beaten down from church hurt and told all sorts of horrible things and not sure if you can even love yourself anymore, we're waiting for you. If you've grown up affirmed and gay and have always been gay and proud of that and have never had any negative experiences, we're waiting for you. If you've been picked on and bullied and you want to know, can I go to a place where people aren't going to be mean to me? We're waiting for you. If you're a leader in some sort of SGL national movement and you're completely affirmed and you're a mover and a shaker in your community of some national way, we're waiting for you. Reminds me of the church song of many have come before, but there's still room for one more. We are waiting for you. We want to love you and affirm you just the way you are. If there's a space of healing, we will provide that to you. If it's a space of just fun and camaraderie, we have that as well. This is a brotherhood that wants to love and accept all of our same gender loving brothers, whether you be gay or bisexual. We're waiting for you. We need you to join us. We don't want ADODI to be the best kept secret in the country. So that is my mantra. Tell everybody about ADODI because we want you to join us. We look forward to your presence and the gifts that you will bring to us and how you bless your brothers as you come to us in the fullness and the wholeness in your own authentic way. We are waiting for you.
Well, before I get your social media, I need to say some things. First of all, powerful, poignant, right on point. Now, that's the serious piece. The not so serious piece is this, and it's two parts. You know what I'm saying? First of all is hallelujahs, 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 hallelujahs. Yes. And number two, you sound just like Pastor James Greenleaf. Remember Greenleaf?
I do. The
yes,
was fine.
We're gonna get Kahan ordained.
Yes, we need to. My God, you sound like Pastor James Greenleaf in the pulpit. Well, anyway,
I grew up thinking I was going to be somebody's first lady. So I don't have a husband yet. So I was thinking I was going to be first lady. So if there's a pastor that needs a spouse, I can play, baby. I can play the piano. I can teach Sunday school. I'm waiting to sit by you. But I'll preach if you need me to. I'm licensed for that. I'll preach if you want me.
Well, look, before we get out of here, give us your social media, please, ADODI.
www.adodi.org is our website. We have a Facebook group called The Men of ADODI. There's also a Facebook group for ADODI Chicago, ADODI New York, and ADODI Detroit. And the Southern region also has its own Facebook page and group.
Okay.
And while talking about the Southern region, we would love to invite you on behalf of the brothers of the Southern region from January 13th through 15th. The ADODI Southern region is hosting its annual retreat. We would love to have you there. If you head to the Southern region Facebook page, you can find information about that. If you email me at ADODI-National Facilitator at gmail.com, I'll send you a personal invite and a link so that you can connect with the brothers from the South. So you don't have to wait till the summer. We've got our Southern region retreat coming just January. That's the MLK holiday. You can join us then, and I'd be happy to meet you there and see you there.
In Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes. Get your cowboy hats and your cowboy boots and get ready to have a hunkin' darn good time. Yeehaw!
Yippee, yippee, yay. Well, gentlemen of ADODI, I want to thank you for stopping by. Wyatt, you got to come back sometime next year.
Thank you for having us, Wyatt. We really appreciate being here. We love being with you, man. We hope to see you on a retreat sometime because we know that you've got a wealth of information that you can impart to the Brotherhood as well. And we'd love to have you stop by and, do some workshops with us. who knows, maybe even do a live broadcast from the retreat.
We need to talk. We
need
to talk.
I told you.
The chair of the committee has invited you. He's chair. He has invited you.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Thank you so much. We will talk off air.
Okay.
Well, listen, thank you.
Wyatt, thank you. We love
Tell
you, brother.
Somebody about ADODI.
Okay, Pastor Greenleaf. I love
it. You enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk later.
You got it. So there you have it. You can visit the official Wyatt podcast page at WyattEvans.com. The go-to destination, y'all, for LGBTQ plus news, commentary, features, and entertainment. At WyattEvans.com, you will find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels, and the latest installment is Frenzy! Yeah, Frenzy! And y'all, Frenzy is just chock full of masculine romance, passion, danger, action, intrigue, and a good portion of erotica to really float your boat. And the predecessor to Frenzy is Rage, all on WyattEvans.com. And I'll soon have news for the new installment and the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels, y'all. News is coming. It's coming. Now, if you want to drop me a line, you can do so at WyattOnAir@gmail.com. I'm all across social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and like poof, my social media is right there, all up in your face. So you can peruse, just peruse that social media, peruse it. So until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof.